This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 92 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by Omega Fields, the world's best omega-3 supplements for horses. Horsemanship Radio is a part of the family of the Horse Radio Network. Today, we have the president of the Pacific Quarter Horse Association, Cece Campbell. We also have a young lady who is destined to do good things in the world of horses, Jenna Asnault. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thank you for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I have my producer, Coach Jen, with me again today. Hi, Jen.
Greetings, Debbie.
Hi. It was really good to hear so much on all the different programs that you do there at the Horse Radio Network about your trips and about the people you interact with and how much fun this network is having going and growing. And do you see what we see from the inside looking out? Because outside looking in, it looks like a party. It really does.
It is
just
a party.
So much.
It is a party. It's the thing I love about it. I so sorely miss being outdoors for a living. Out in the barn. But on the other hand, the really, really cool thing about doing what I do here at the Horse Radio Network is every minute of every day is a learning experience.
That's nice. Yeah, I bet. Because your shows are so interesting that you've got the daily tips and you've got the Horses in the Morning live show and then all the other shows you produce too. So It's fascinating to me as a horse person and also as not a neophyte to technology. Not that I have any increased knowledge in that, really. Just now you've taught me how to use Skype. But it is interesting to watch how horses have been able to dominate now a form of media that just didn't even exist 20 years ago, really, in the world of horses, for sure.
Yeah, that's a very good point, in that podcasting as an industry is very much in its infancy. And the Horse Radio Network is one of the most experienced and one of the most prolific podcasts anywhere in the world, which is kind of weird because you don't usually say, oh, horse people, they're leaders in technology. But we are. We're very much leaders in the medium. We don't have the podcasts that are the most highly produced. There's not a whole lot on the Horse Radio Network that sounds like Serial and PBS. But we, by far, have the most wide variety and the most in-depth library of programs on any topic in the podcasting world. It's kind of crazy.
I would think you have multipliers of the topic at this point. It's not just the most variety.
Yeah, and the most common thing we get from outside the horse world is someone will say, well, it's horses. What are you going to talk about after the first couple of episodes?
Yeah.
Oh, little do they know.
I know. If you just talked about one discipline alone, that's fine. It reminds me of Monty Roberts' dad. Back in 2004, I said, we get so many wonderful questions emailed to us, and I feel like a black hole for all this great information that we're just typing back to that person who wrote us. Let's put it into some format that builds a Q&A library. And we started that in 2004, and we have put up faithfully one Q&A every week since then. But the punchline is that at the time, Dad went, nah, this is like a deck of cards. There's like 52 questions that answers pretty much everything. And I said, yeah, probably not. But
see, that's coming from a guy who has a really, really bad case of unconscious competence. He knows so much. He's forgotten more than what we'll ever know.
For sure. That's true. And one thing he did forget in making the statement is that everybody's horse is unique to them. So when they ask the question, they're running the video of their own horse, and there's a variation on everything, every question. There really is.
Every relationship and every experience within that relationship is unique. You absolutely nailed it right on the head. And at the global level, there are probably 52 answers, but the the natural tendency of horse lovers is to drill it down to that unique relationship that they're living. And that's been part of the fun for me, is learning that. I first had to learn that because I had the 30,000 foot view and I thought there were 52 answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't having a lot of success with those 52 answers. I had to go, no, I need to personalize this. I need to make this apply to my unique relationship and my unique situation with the horse I'm staring at right now. And I'm actually staring at him out the back window of my house, and there he is eating his hay. And
so
once I let go of my preconceived ideas and said, I can do that. I am free to do that. And if I don't come up with the correct solution the first time, it's okay. I'm going to do it again, and eventually I'm going to come up with the solution that I'm looking for. And that was very freeing. So I think it's really cool that you guys are taking those questions, taking it to heart that every situation and every relationship is unique, and putting it out there to equestrians around the world to help them solve their problems and grow.
Thank you. And you know what? It helps us too. It's so interesting to do. It's like an exercise where you go, I never thought about it like that. You see it from that view, or your eyes, or your horse. And now there's over 600 in our database, and it's free. It's out there in a searchable database by keywords. And I still am amazed how I can go and reference it and go, how did he say that? Or what did they ask? And it's just cool. So I know that we're all technophobes. we don't like technology, but it's really changed, I think, a lot of the face. It's become more authentic. The horsemanship and horse training has become more authentic, because you can't declare yourself a complete, well, you can, but expert in anything, because you want to say, hey, I learned something new every day, like you just said, because there's going to be a variation, or there's going to be a question asked that you can't. For example, okay, so this was kind of fun. Years ago, a specific person asked, you said, Monty, that when you cluck, it makes the horse go faster. Just do it. Don't ask why. I don't know. It works. Okay. So, it's like, hey, I'm the mom and I said so. And so clucking, we all do it. We're all around horses.
That's right.
We all, yeah.
We do it to our kids. We do it to our dogs.
Yeah, exactly. We cluck at our husband. We cluck at the, in the register at the grocery store. But it does impulse, right? It does make you feel like at least you're telling him to go faster. So why whoa?
Good question.
It's all over the world. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, some people will do a variation and they habituate their horse to brrr or whatever, there's different things in different disciplines people do, but it's pretty universal, at least in my world, that whoa, or, something like that works too. And it never occurred to me until I gave Dad a book for Christmas that I was fascinated by. It's a guy who uses animals in therapy to heal. And we were reading stuff for the Horse Instant Healing program we do for veterans. And his name is Dr. Peter Levine. And he wrote lots of books, but he wrote a book called In an Unspoken Voice. And it's a different kind of therapy, but it's somatic resonating, and it's interesting. But the one thing that he said brings down, and it's scientifically proven, brings down your physiology, brings down your cortisol levels, brings down your breathing, your heart rate, is vo. And so he uses this exercise with his people with a vo, which a lot of people will recognize, like in yoga, there's different, or is it yoga, or is it meditating is or something like that. Isn't it interesting, though, that it's a resonating kind of deep sound that you have to blow out kind of when you're doing it? Huh. Well, think our horses don't pick that up? Sure they do. So the cluck, cluck, cluck makes sense, because it's like breaking sticks. And when sticks get broken, guess what?
Lions in the breeze. Good point. Yeah.
You got to go. And so whoa, or whoa, does the opposite for you, which is how you translate that through your bottom cheeks to your horse, both through sound and your probably more through your relaxation and your muscle memory. So there's like science behind all this stuff, Jen. I can't believe it.
So it's one of those things that we use it, yet it is something that is likely to work anyway versus the vocal signal you use to get your horse to move is whoosh, 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 whoosh. It's less likely to work to begin with because the horse isn't already hardwired to react to that hard clinking sound.
You can habituate to anything,
right?
But it must be.
Why not use something the horse is hardwired to use, right?
Exactly, and it's tried and true. Really, if we think about it, tried and true means that it's been happening for a long, 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 long time. And why? And it's just sometimes we don't look up and say, "Oh yeah, why?" It's kind of fun to do that every once in a while too. So, cool. Anyway, I love horses, but I love studying their behaviors even more because I just think there's such better examples of it than we are. Yeah.
Well, they don't have the veil of humanity covering up the behaviors. The horse's behavior is honest. It is what it is. Yes.
It is. They can only react, and I just love that. So we're going to have today on the radio, we should tell people a little bit about our lineup. We've got Cece Campbell from the PCQHA, and she has a lifetime of experience with horses, and she is passing it on to the next generation. You've got to hear her story. And then we've got the opposite end. We've got a youth endurance rider, young Jenna Asnault, who is just doing amazing things in her discipline, but she plowed through a few disciplines to get there too. And that's what I love about her. She is such a horse girl.
Doesn't give up. And I love that. So we're going to get right to Cece right after this from Omega Fields.
Your horse is your partner in sport, in leisure, and just in life. To keep him at his peak performance and optimal health, a solid nutritional foundation is key. Ideally, horses are able to graze fresh, growing grasses, which most closely mimic their natural diet. But that may not always be possible, and we may need to supply some of those missing ingredients in today's diets and provide more functional foods. One component of a horse's diet that is often underfed are omega-3 fatty acids. While more prevalent in fresh forages, harvested forages are lower in omega-3 fatty acids due to their more advanced maturity. Obviously, grasses and legumes have to grow to a sufficient height in order to be harvested, while foraging patterns of horses show great preference for shorter, less mature plants. That's why modern horsemen and horsewomen trust Omega Horseshine to provide a powerful, bountiful source of omega-3 fatty acids for their equine partners. Look for Omega Horseshine from Omega Fields at your local tack and feed supplier, or you can find them online at omegafields.com.
Cece Campbell is the PCQHA president. Her parents were really hoping that horses would lose their luster, but they never did. They never did for Cece. Cece Campbell is the current PCQHA president that's been following her dreams throughout her life. She's on a horse these days called Sky's Lady in Blue, and you should Google it because just her list of 2016 accomplishments alone, she qualified for the AQHA Select World in 4 events, the AQHA World Show in 5 events. She placed top 15 in the Amateur 2 Level 2 Hunt Seat Equitation and Hunter Under Saddle, 2nd place in the nation Level 2 Hunt Seat Equitation, 4th place in the nation Level 2 Hunter Under Saddle, 7 AQHA all-around championships awards on top of her PCQHA. So she's just done amazing things in this last couple of years, and she is now turning her attention to giving back. And you'll love her story. It's Cece is a model of encouragement for the next generation to enjoy horses. Well, welcome, Cece Campbell, president of the PCQHA. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Jen. Nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. It's the first time we've had you on the show, and my producer Jen is with us here today too. And since we're West Coasties, you and me, Cece, we'll let Jen pop in here with questions if she has any. But she thinks this Western world is kind of a foreign territory, but she's taken a liking to us. It's okay. And one of the quotes that I thought was so fun that I heard from, probably read it in the Slowpoke News, I think, from San Luis Obispo, was that you're incredibly passionate about the American Quarter Horse and the AQHA and its members and growing the industry. And, I know you've been around horses your whole life. And I'm wondering, what does that look like? What are you incredibly passionate about doing with the American Quarter Horse Association and the other associations you're doing?
I'd have to say with the American Quarter Horse, it's the versatility of the breed and the trainability and willingness of the horse. And that translates into it being, they make very good Western horses, but they make very good English horses. They make very good jumping horses. Quarter horses are very good at speed events. I mean, they just are very trainable in every way that whatever you want to do with a horse. And I certainly think it translates to however you ride, whether it's dressage or and I've done all those things with my American Quarter Horse. And I laugh about myself and say that I ride West-lish because I ride a lot English.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different than it is on the hunter-jumper circuit, but I think the horses are every bit as good. I mean, we just do a little something different with, how we show them. But it's so amazing that these horses have that kind of talent.
It is the versatility and everything too. I love the statement. I've heard it said by lots of different people that it doesn't matter what kind of leather you have on top. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, how does a little girl from Jacksonville, Florida, who moves out to San Diego, end up the president of the PCQHA? That's great. The Pacific Coast Quarter Horse Association, head of the board of directors here.
That's a good question. I can remember as a little girl being very young and dreaming of having a horse. I don't come from a horse family. The horses in my family came from my grandfather who rode, but my family was not enmeshed in the horse industry. But I was determined that I would get lessons, and at age 12 I did. And then about a year later ended up getting a horse. Okay. And it happened to be a quarter horse. And I was lucky enough to get to ride, different kinds of horses. I rode saddlebreds and little hunter jumper, but I never owned one. I was just lucky enough to have one horse. And, that went, I did show and compete, as a young girl. And then, to me, that was everything. And I thought, in fact, I didn't want to go to college. I did end up going. And, I did end up getting a ranch management degree, went on to get my bachelor's and then my master's, and actually got involved in the creative end, which, graphics and marketing, and had a different career doing some different things. But horses were always a part of my life. I mean, I always wanted to at least have the ability to have them in the barn or be able to ride, not always show. Sometimes I wasn't able to. And how I got to be the president of PCQHA, that wasn't my huge goal. My only goal was to give back. Every time I was able to be in an organization was to say, what can I do to help to give this lifestyle back to the young people, the teenagers, the, amateurs, and also the selects, an opportunity to get back in. And I've had so many friends my age, young people, where just being able to touch one person, you're able to share that, and they are affected by learning what a wonderful lifestyle these horses do give us.
Yeah, that's it. Well, wonderful. We need more of you, Cece, that are bringing this wonderful hobby / discipline / pastime to our future. It really needs to be there. I know that you're doing a great job with your granddaughter. We're going to put a photo of you with Taylor Gromelski, your gorgeous granddaughter, up there. Now, is she actually showing too?
She does. I have a big hunt seat mare that I show, a big gray mare, and I've had a really wonderful time with her the last 8 years. I've had her since her first 5 rides. She's been very successful on the English arena, and I thought she might have some talent to do some Western, and she's just been fabulous. And
she has.
We've done everything in the English and Western arenas. And my granddaughter, I guess she was about 6.5, came to a horse show with me and flew down. She lives in Washington. And she just immediately felt comfortable and hung out with all the kids. And she didn't show. It ended up the lead line class was a day that she wasn't there, but she rode the horse and had fun, and she's very confident. She's gone to she went to pony camp and has had lessons, and we ended up getting her a horse up there in Washington.
Oh, okay.
And that's turned out to be a wonderful, wonderful time for the whole family. And the whole family rides that lovely horse. He's a little ranch horse, and he is wonderful.
A little quarter horse, or what did she end up getting?
Quarter horse.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up taking a horse that was my husband's up to the family for Christmas about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, how fun!
But anyway,
that?
So Taylor started. Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun, and the whole family has benefited from having a horse in their life, and that's what horses do. That's what a quarter horse will do, because they do everything. She loves to ride him English and jump. She loves to get on him Western. She does the Western dressage. She shows him in the all-round up there. And she's learning to ride, but also learning how to take care of animals, which is a wonderful thing. But anyway, so she started coming down to see me, and I would take her to the quarter horse show. And I was told by all the trainers this was crazy. My mare, who was an appendix mare, half thoroughbred, oh no, you can't put her on that horse, and this won't work. Well, I knew the mare really well, and she started showing her in the walk trot. Did that for about 2 years and was very successful. And by about age 8 or 9, we moved her up into the novice youth category, which is the level 1 for quarter horse. And she started showing the horse in the English, and then started showing her in the Western, the horsemanship and showmanship. And even though then started, loping in the last 2 years. And then now we're moving her at age 10 from the level 1 up to the regular youth classes. And she even does the Western riding, where you do a lot of flying lead changes through the patterns. And it's really amazing. It's a big 16-2 hand gray mare that shouldn't be able to do this. I was told by all the trainers it's not going to happen. And that mare lives at home with me for the last 3 or 4 years and has been very successful, not only for me, but it was double duty, because she would also be doing it for those same classes for my granddaughter. So she's been very successful.
Is this Sky's Lady in Blue? Is that your gray?
Yeah, my mare, Sky's Lady in Blue. Yeah. I call her Annie because I didn't tell my husband I bought a horse. And when I came home from, I was visiting my mom, and my husband said, did you go look at a horse? I don't know how he knew. I don't know. And I said, yes, I did. And he said, did you buy her? Well, yes. And that was my anniversary present. So we call her Annie.
Of course it was. There you go. Annie for anniversary. I get it. How long have you been married?
I had to be a little creative.
Yeah. How long?
17 years.
17. Yeah, that's long enough to start to read that look in your eyes.
I guess.
You two have
and very supportive.
He's a good horse husband. I love that. And now he's supporting his granddaughter too. It's great.
He loves her and is wonderful to her. Wonderful.
Oh my gosh. This list of what Sky's Lady in Blue, what you and she have done, and your granddaughter, is just amazing. You've qualified for an AQHA Select World in 4 events, World Show in 5 events, top 15 placings in amateur. I know this is not about you, Cece, and you're so humble, but Sky's Lady in Blue has done amazing things, and I guess you happen to be aboard. So it's really, people should go Google you and see what you and Sky's Lady in Blue have done. And now it's about Taylor too, making it happen.
It is.
I was reading your president's message for the PCQHA, and I know you've got some championships things coming up, and I know that you really like people to support the youth when they can. Tell me about this. I think it's the EMO Western States Championship Show and celebration coming up in the end of June here now. It will have happened by the time people hear this, but let's hear about that a little bit.
This is a new event. The inaugural event was last year for the EMO Western States Championship and the celebration show. It is a cooperative agreement between the Pacific Coast Quarter Horse Association and the Arizona Quarter Horse Association, who came together to develop a new show. We don't have a huge show for quarter horses on the West Coast. So the goal was to create an event that would allow exhibitors, not in the level 1 category, but those people that are coming out of that, the amateur or the novice amateur or level 1, so they could have a world show experience, not so far back, maybe not so difficult as Oklahoma City, which is where our world show is, but to have something sort of in between those two shows, and not have to go back to Oklahoma. And so the two associations came together and created, first of all, the EMO Western States Championship Show, which is a show you have to qualify for. You qualify by competing in the amateur divisions, amateur or select amateur, which is the over 50 category, and also the youth category, in a list of core classes that include the cattle, the cutting, the whale classes, the showmanship, Western pleasure, hunter under saddle, hunt sea deck, all those classes, horsemanship, trail, and Western riding and ranch riding. And you compete in a championship style event where they roll the red carpet out. They have trophies for first, second, and third, and you have to qualify for the event to get there. And that's going to be held July 4th and through July 9th this year at South Point Arena in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, baby. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be great. In conjunction with that show, there is a regular quarter horse show. That means you don't have to qualify for that show. But what makes that show special is that instead of having, most quarter horse shows have, say, 4 judges over a 4-day event, and this show has 10. And this is the first time on the West Coast to have such a huge, list of judges, and anyone can compete at that show. And we had a huge show last year that was very successful for our first show, and so we anticipate this year will be even better.
Better, yeah.
From early reports
Wow, it's growing.
Well, and South Point is such a lovely facility. They've put that, 2 new coliseums in for us to show. It's just, the perfect facility for us to grow and have that kind of an event for the West Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's surprising that we don't have it, but you're right. Traditionally, Texas, Oklahoma have been such big shows for that. Tell me about your youth team. I know you've got your youth team going to Oklahoma City August 4th through 12. Who are some of the rock stars that we could be looking for up and coming?
We have a wonderful youth president, Alexandra Earl, and she has led the youth, and I think done a wonderful job in, doing a lot of events for the youth and fundraising. And the youth goes over there and competes not only individually, but also as a team. And they do a lot of team building events. And I hope to actually take my granddaughter over there just so she can see what happens at a Youth World Show, because
that'd be inspiring.
To actually see what this is about. The youth team is very talented. I think Alexandra is really leading the charge. I think our youth are so competitive with the rest of the nation. They're such amazing riders, and the coaches and trainers that help them are the very best in the nation. I do believe that. And so it's a wonderful experience. I've not been to the World Show personally. That's why I do want to go. But I think that, they have the parade of states. They have a lot of, like I said, team building experiences for the youth, as well as the individual events where they compete.
Great.
So
That sounds so
very
fun.
exciting.
To be 12 again, right, Cece? Sounds really fun.
Right. Well, the most wonderful thing about AQHA, if I can say this, is that, by creating the select category, the over 50 category, personally, when I became 50, I was very excited. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to compete against the 22-year-olds. I can compete against people that are in my age group. And they even have another category called Super Select, which I think it's over 70 is Super Select. So you don't have to think that there's no way I can get, and be successful. There is. And AQHA has been smart enough to launch these new programs to give people a chance, no matter what age or level that you are.
Wow. And you've been instrumental in that. You don't have to answer that. It's not a question. I know you have. It's wonderful. I appreciate you. I know. There's always a team.
No, there's incredibly brilliant people that are not only on the Pacific Coast Quarter Horse Board, but also for AQHA. We're so fortunate in California. Last year, our president of the entire American quarter horse for the world was from California, and that's Sandy Arledge, who is an amazing, talk about amazing, what she has given back to our industry and how she continues to participate and help and guide. We are very fortunate to have that kind of talent.
That is so true. And I get such nice feedback on, well, all of you guys, really. But my mom, has been involved in the AQHA her whole life and shown quarter horses her whole life. And, there was a 30-year respite in there. I should mention that. But she's back. She's back, and she's going strong. And she couldn't be prouder.
Hopefully she's coming to Vegas.
She's trying to get another gal to go with her to do just that. She'll be in Paso though with you in just a little bit. So
you'll have to tell me when, because I want to connect.
Good. I'm going to put you two together. You guys will have so much fun. She's just full of energy, just like you. Well, where can people learn a little bit more if this is new to them, and a lot of the Western world is to some of our listeners. So we're pretty global on this list of our listeners. So tell us where to go.
We have a very active social media Facebook page, which is the Pacific Coast Quarter Horse Association, or PCQHA. You can also go to our website, which is pcqha.com.
Perfect. And go there and
we
post.
Yep. And we do have an office here in Paso Robles. And so if anyone wants to come by and speak to someone in person, that's always an option as well.
That's great. And Paso Robles is such a fun place, such a growing place since I was a kid. And by the way, there happens to be a lot of good wine tasting out there. So if anybody needs an excuse, isn't that true? Yeah. It's fun to see all of this growing and blowing up. And I hope I get to meet your granddaughter, Taylor, the future of AQHA and PCQHA too, and wish her luck for us. And I do wish you luck with all the things that you've got going on this summer. I appreciate you taking out a little time and giving us a little insight to your world, which is really fun.
Hi, Carol Herder here, president of Cavallo, home of the world's most trusted and popular hoof boots. One of the most interesting parts of what I do is the many horsey stories I get to hear. Most of them are really uplifting. Some are stories of challenges, and a few are downright sad. Recently, a wonderful woman took the time to approach us at a show to share a story about her horse who went down in quicksand. It started out as a really scary story. We were holding our breaths, waiting for the outcome, and it turned out wonderful. They winched the horse out relatively unscathed, albeit, a little traumatized, and everyone standing around were super amazed that he still had his Cavallo hoof boots on. Scary story with a good ending. Another testament to Cavallo. If you don't have a pair for your horse, it's time. Cavallos are easy to put on, easy to take off when you want to take them off, and they stay on. They stay on in all terrain. Cavallo, the world's most trusted hoof boots.
Jenna Asnault recently submitted her story to the American Endurance Ride Conference, and it was so compelling it got picked up for their national press release. The American Endurance Ride Conference, the AERC, was founded in 1972 as a national governing body for long-distance riding. And over the years, it's developed a set of rules and guidelines designed to provide a standardized format and strict veterinary controls. The AERC sanctions more than 700 rides each year throughout the North American continent, with distances ranging from 25 to 100 miles in one day. Well, welcome, Jenna Asnault, endurance rider extraordinaire. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Well, thank you for taking our call and agreeing to this interview. I'm just amazed by you, Jenna.
Thanks.
Yeah? You're going to have to speak way up because that means I'm amazed by you, Jenna. And I am so proud of what you've done. I was reading something that the American Endurance Ride Conference had put out a bit of a story about you. And then I noticed that you had actually written the story. How did that come about?
Well, my riding instructor, Jaya May Gregory, asked me to write a story about my first 50-mile ride for her writing blog. And and then I sent it to her and she read it and she loved it. So she sent it to the editor of the Endurance News magazine.
Wow. Were you nervous then or when she asked you to write the thing?
I don't think I would say I was nervous. I did struggle to write it. And then I had this assignment in my English class to write an essay, a This I Believe essay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty much what I published.
I see. You're killing two birds with one stone. You're a smart girl. Yeah, spoken like a true endurance girl, preserving resources. Very good. Well, I love your story. So tell us, you're up in Northern Cal right now, right? You're up in the Chico area?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm reading your story, and you started off as a trail gal. So I think a lot of listeners will know what that means, that you just love horses. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So trail was just your first foray into a discipline. I'm putting air quotes around that, sort of a discipline. I mean, you have to learn all about your horses and taking care. But why did you get into trail riding instead of like showing right away?
Well, I did 2 shows. I had a trainer, I had a riding instructor that I did 2 shows with. And they were all right. But honestly, she wasn't a very good trainer.
Mm.
So, and I didn't like the shows as much as I liked just trail riding with my neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
So I just decided to stick to the trails. And like I wrote in my story, I tried a bunch of different things, but none of them really stuck.
Like what other disciplines you mean? You tried some other saddles?
Yeah, I tried barrel racing.
Okay.
And that really didn't go very well.
Uh-oh, what happened?
So the horse I was riding was a boarder at the barn that my old trainer boarded her horses at. And so when she did barrel racing with her horse, and so she was like, okay, do you want to do this thing at Red Bluff, this FBR, Future Barrel Racers? And I was like, okay, why not? So we didn't really prepare for it.
Uh-oh.
Like I had never ridden her horse before. And so we got there and I just did the pattern at a trot. But when I asked the horse to canter on the way on the home stretch,
mm-hmm.
he started bucking.
Uh-oh.
And I came off.
Oh, no.
So that was kind of the end of that.
Okay, yeah. Not a good experience. It's so important to have that first good experience in a new discipline, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And landing on the dirt is usually not going to be a good component.
No.
Yeah. And that's the fastest. You're going the fastest at that point in the whole experience too, right?
Exactly.
Oh, dear. So having picked yourself up and dusted yourself off after that, what'd you do?
Just kind of went back to riding on the trails. I was still with that same trainer. And I did those 2 shows, and they were fine. I got a few ribbons. But, this wasn't as exciting as I would have liked it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And being on the trails, it just felt more like a little adventure than just being in an arena with a bunch of people watching you.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when did you realize that trail riding is like endurance riding, only endurance riding is just a lot longer?
Well, my neighbor who owned the horses that I would ride and who actually gave me my first horse, she had been friends with Jaya for a long time and actually gave Jaya a Solly, Jaya's Tevis horse. So I knew about Jaya and I knew that she did endurance. And so as I just kept riding on the trails, I just kept thinking to myself, man, it would be really nice if I could just ride all day long on the trail. And then
yeah.
I was thinking, well, isn't that what endurance riding is?
There you go.
So when I started taking lessons from Jaya, that's pretty much what I was thinking. And so I thought, okay, I'll try this out. And I ended up really liking it.
So was the first experience of this one better?
Which one?
The endurance ride. The barrel racing was the first experience, not so good. Was the first endurance ride you were in good?
Yeah, it was good. It was Jaya's Christina Chesterman ride. I did the limited distance.
Today we're going to talk etiquette when you're on the national.
How far is
great.
that?
I had
What's
a great
limited?
time.
How far is limited distance?
Limited distance is 30 miles.
30 miles.
So
Yeah. How did you come out? Did you finish?
yes, I finished actually in the top 10, and I was the first junior to finish.
Woo! Did you come in with your trainer, with your coach?
No, she was working. She was the ride manager, so she was really busy. She didn't ride that day, but she had a friend who was my sponsor and rode with me.
Oh, that's fantastic. I have a bit of a surprise for you. JMA, is it JMA? JMA, unusual name, beautiful, wrote to me with a quote that she wanted me to read about you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
She says, I have to say I've always admired Jenna's ambition. She has a natural talent with horses, but is so humble about it and is always searching for ways to expand herself as an equestrian. She takes lessons, she reads books, and she works with her neighbors' horses, goes to classes and clinics and competitions with me, and never stops asking questions. Well done, Jenna. That's the perfect student. That's what every coach hopes for.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have Jaya as my trainer.
Well, we would love to have her on sometime too. I bet she has a lot of great horses around her, and I bet she's a lot of fun to be with.
She is.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you for coming on today and sharing so much about your story and kind of being an inspiration to a lot of girls who might be just trail riding right now and wondering what the next level is. It may not be endurance riding, but I think what you showed us is an example of trying different things and always wanting to have horses around you no matter what discipline.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, just being around horses.
That's great. Well, you must take good care of your horses because endurance tests that.
Yeah.
So tell us about your horse that you're using right now.
So she's my neighbor's horse. She is a very small little chestnut Arabian mare, and she's a little crazy. She's great. She's really fun to ride, but she spooks at pretty much everything.
Pretty much everything, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Is that the crazy part?
Pretty much.
And where did you get her? She's your neighbor's,
Well,
but I mean, how did that happen that you get to ride?
So that part's kind of a long story.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So I've lived next to my neighbor, and she has all her animals. I've lived next to her for pretty much my whole life. And starting, I'd like to say when I was about 8, I started just wanting to ride, and so she would let me ride, and I would just do some chores for her in exchange for that.
Nice.
And so, and she had this little Arabian gelding that she gave to me, and I would always ride him, and I had a great time with him. But when he passed away last year, everyone was just thinking, okay, now we need another horse, so that I would have a horse to ride. And so my neighbor could use another horse for lessons. So her friend had this mare whose name is Sarabi, and so we ended up with her, and I started riding her, and yeah, I've been riding her for almost a year now.
Oh, great. That's great. That's a great partnership then. So you've known her for a while.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, the American Endurance Ride Conference must be very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I hope you stay with it, stay at it, and take this whole discipline with you into your life to use with all the talents and abilities that you're gathering, and inspire other children and adults too to keep at it.
Yeah, I hope I do.
Good. You will if you hope you do. Good job, Jenna. Thanks for joining us today on Horsemanship Radio.
Whisper the language of the herd. Listen, you don't have to say a word.
It's time for Jamie Jennings to fetch an email from Monty Roberts' inbox and share a morsel of Monty's wisdom in a little segment we like to call Ask Monty.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
Dear Monty, when you start join up with the horse, won't they think they've done something wrong? What does the horse think at that moment? Monty's answer. If you're referring to the point when you send the horse away, remember that it is the horse's language that you are working in. When this gesture is thought to be offensive by a human being, it's because the human is attempting to translate it into our language. I have borrowed this gesture from the world of the wild horses, just as I have the whole lexicon of the language equus. Horses are perfectly comfortable speaking the language that they have known for over 40 million years. Watch the horse at the end of join up and you will realize that nothing negative has resulted from you sending the horse away. It is virtually impossible to draw a horse back to you until that horse is away from you. What I am attempting to do is to set up an environment whereby the horse exercises freedom of choice. Don't try to speak two languages at once. Learn the language equus. The student horse person is best served by working with a great number of gentle horses. The novice can, in fact, get into a lot of trouble with the raw, untrained juvenile. If a student makes a series of mistakes, it can take long periods of time to regain the trust of the untrained horse. Many scientists have written about the behavior of flight animals and how they respond to the actions of other species. The flight animal is quite accustomed to fleeing to avoid what it perceives as danger. In the wild horse herd, it is commonplace for adolescents to be sent out of the family group for periods of time as discipline for unacceptable behavior. It is a part of their culture, and they understand it quite well. Anyone who chooses to study my concepts closely will realize that I wait until the horse chooses to make a move to leave me. In the absence of this flight response, I suggest adding to the gestures of flee gradually until the desired response is achieved. It is at that time that I respond by overtly sending the horse away. I try not to be terribly aggressive in this action. I make a concerted effort to match my movements to the sensitivities of the horse with which I am working. Once the animal has reached his flight distance, the tendency for him is to communicate with me a desire to return. It is at that point in time that I observe the 4 gestures that I have written about so often. Once I have received him, I assume a passive position, thus inviting the horse to return to me. If he does, it is my responsibility to congratulate him with a good rub and gestures of welcome and understanding. Short of achieving that response, I work in arcs or semicircles in front of the horse, and if I get my language right, join up will happen. With these procedures accomplished, one can begin a relationship with the horse whereby he understands that coming closer to the human is a good thing, while distancing himself from the human is less than a good thing. It is also important to note that the negative consequences of doing the less than good thing are to return to work. Too many horsemen would strike the horse for going away, thus producing a relationship of anger and distrust. You may see some practitioners using whips to drive the horses away from them, then stopping the whipping, backing up, eyes on eyes, drawing the horse towards them. This procedure historically has been termed whip breaking and was used by the motion picture industry to achieve the stunts they termed in liberty. I am not a proponent of this type of training, and I do not believe in striking a horse to achieve any response.
For more of these insights into good horsemanship, go to www.montyroberts.com and click on the orange banner that says Get Free Horse Tips.
Hi, I'm Monty Roberts, and I'm dedicated to training horses without pain. You can learn to do it too on my Equus Online University. Western, English, the beginner, or the advanced rider. It doesn't matter. You can connect with other students online too, on our forum, and there's a new lesson every week. It's a lifetime of learning for you on my Equus Online University at montyroberts.com.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Where in the world is Monty Roberts?
Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, two-legged and four-legged, July 10 to 21. It's his Gentling Wild Horses course, and that's in Solvang, California, as on Flag is Up Farms. And then there's July 31 to August 4, and that's Monty's special training in California, again on Flag is Up Farms. And that's a big one. That's we have two languages represented there, Portuguese for our Brazilian and Portuguese friends, and in English, which seems to represent all the rest of the countries of the world because many people show up there from all over the world. It's really interesting.
And if you loved hearing about the calendar and you want to see more or get more details, you can find that all on the website. That would be montyroberts.com. Or if you want to go old school and speak with a real honest-to-goodness educated human being, you can call Flag is Up Farms at 805-688-6288. And for details about today's show, go to horsemanshipradio.com, where you're going to have links, photos, and more information about today's guests. And this is my favorite part. We love your feedback. It helps us make the show better. So hop on to Facebook and type in there Monty Roberts and join the fun and become a follower of Monty Roberts. And we'd love to hear your feedback right there. Or if you like to live your life 150 characters or less at a time, you can follow Monty on Twitter. His handle is Monty_Roberts. Fancy that. And don't miss any episodes of Horsemanship Radio or any other show on the Horse Radio Network. Go and download the Horse Radio Network app for your iPhone or Android. It's free and easy to use. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network.
And many thanks, too, to our sponsors, Omega Fields and Cavallo Horse and Rider, who've just joined us, and Monty's Equus Online University. And be sure to visit all the other great shows, too, on the Horse Radio Network at www.horseradionetwork.com. Until next time, have many happy horse hours.